I turned 40 in between the last record and this one. Yeah, 40, big 4-0. Strangers No More is the name of the new record. It comes from a line in one of the songs called Dance With Everybody. The song is an ode to the audience. Coming out of COVID and these weird years where touring was sort of put on hold. For us, it was put on hold for about, 15 months. And getting back in front of an audience was really inspiring for me as a writer and also as a performer. I realized in that season how much I loved the live show. I love touring. I love my fans, love the audience. I wrote this song, Dance With Everybody, with Ketch Secor, who's a good friend of mine. He's the lead singer of Old Crow, Medicine Show, and written a lot of all their big songs. And we just were talking about how much we realized how grateful we were for the crowd and wanted to write a song for the crowd. And so as I was finishing the record, putting the record together, trying to figure out a title, that I like to go through all the lyrics of the different songs and see if there's like a phrase or a word that sort of sums up the record to me. And that phrase, Strangers No More, is really what this record's about. It's about community, it's about relationships, it's about isolation, it's about the audience, and just felt like the right album. It's about music brings people together, and that's a lot of what this record's about. I think it's our 9th studio album. It's hard to keep up, honestly, at this point, but we've been doing it for a long time, and the band, 2 of the guys in the band have been with me for almost 20 years, and we've made a lot of music together, and we have a lot of fun doing it. And this record, in a lot of ways, is sort of the culmination of those personal and creative relationships within the band. We had probably the most freedom and the biggest pile of songs we've ever had for a record, and we just had a blast, sort of trusting each other and getting in the process and making the record. I think Strangers No More reflects a freedom in us that we've found both on stage and in the writing process. I think for a lot of years, we sort of had this idea of who we were, and we sort of existed within that sort of box that we had made for ourselves. And no one made it for us, we made it for ourselves. But this record, we sort of threw the box away, and it's a big record. It's got a lot of sort of big anthemic songs. We've kind of we added things like horns for the first time, synths, and huge amounts of background vocals, and the songwriting is just, I think, a bit wider and a bit more diverse. I think that there's a joy in the music that has always been there, but it feels like we sort of amped it up, and just because we were just having so much fun making music together, this record, I think, just reflects that joy, that camaraderie that we've had for many years, but we were able to sort of dig deep and find a whole lot more of it in the recording process. This album is about a lot of things. I mean, it's the most introspective record I've had from a writing perspective. It starts with a song called Fly, which is a song about getting older. I turned 40 in between the last record and this one. Yeah, 40, big 4-0. And it's interesting because I feel young, even though I know that I'm not young. But there's a line in the song about, I'm a boy at the window as the summer sun sets, an old man in winter, nothing more, nothing less. This tension between getting older but feeling very youthful. I feel very content, but also very ambitious as a writer and as a performer. And there's a lot of freedom in that. And so the record's a lot about that, sort of reflecting on life in that season. So there's a song called Gratitude, which is a song about, in the midst of the chaos of the world, finding the things to be grateful for. There's a song called Find Your People, which is a song about friendship and how it's sort of the special magic of a full and good life. Then there's a song called Trouble, which is a song about, I wrote a couple days after the Uvalde tragedy, a song about sort of the tension of feeling helpless in a world that's very divided and very chaotic and very violent. So there's just a lot of introspection on the record. There's a lot of who am I, where are we going, where have we been, and trying to find the good things in life that sort of help us sort of crawl out of the darkness in a way. And that's what music has been for me a lot of my life, and so it's a continuation of that. but doing it with the band and with the audience sort of as a part of that process. I mean, the Dance with Everybody is really about how the audience is a part of what we do. If there was no audience, I don't think there would be the Drew Holcomb, the Neighbors records, because there's such a there's like a participatory part of what we do it's really kind of a trademark of how I think about music. It's very important to me. Well, Troubles was hard to write because I have 3 kids, and after what happened in Uvalde and seeing these sort of things happen often, just feeling pretty helpless about it. We live in a very chaotic, divided, angry time, and sometimes as a father, that's not what I want for my kids. I want them to grow up in a time where there's freedom and joy. In a lot of ways they do. They're sort of oblivious to some of the things in the world, but they're smart enough that they pick up on it. But that song just hit me in a moment where I said, I can't take it anymore, and so I wrote this song about wanting to escape the troubles. What was interesting about it, the night that I wrote it, my daughter, who was 9 at the time, who loves to sing, heard me singing it, and she just walked in and started singing along. And I was trying sort of to hide the weight of that from her, but it was such a sweet thing to sing this song with her in light of all the heaviness that the song carries. But yeah, it's having kids in a crazy world is brings a lot of perspective to it, and it also brings a lot of joy to it and some innocence, which I enjoy. But it also makes me think more about legacy than I used to, and what am I doing this for? Why are we making music? Why are we touring? What are we building? Yeah, I think music often helps me, and I think a lot of people escape trouble. There's the first line of the song is, I want to float like a bird, slow and low, follow the river wherever it goes. And I'm a pilot. I've been flying like small single-engine planes since I was 18. And there's a saying in aviation, flying slow and low. It's where you like sort of get the engine as kind of quiet as you can and just float like a bird. And for me, that's the most peaceful thing I can do. It's like my one of the ways I sort of escape the chaos of life. But in the song, I'm like, what if I could actually do it? Just what if I was just like a bird and didn't know about all this trouble, and I could just follow this river, and who knows where it's going to take us. And music is like that for me. It's always been like that for me. It's soundtracked the hardest and the best of times, and I think that's one of the reasons music is so powerful, is because it gives people sort of an emotional framework for the difficulties and the joys of life, and the comedies of life, the tragedies of life, all of it together. Music tends to have this ability to help us escape, and sometimes that's really necessary, to kind of put one foot in front of the other. Yeah, find your people. There's these lines in the song. You got to find your people, the ones that make you feel whole, ones that won't let you lose control, or won't leave your side when you lose control. Ones that won't let you lose your soul. I think I've been very fortunate. I have good friends, and I've had good friends since I was a kid. And especially when, as a musician, you get some notoriety, and you start to. It's easy to believe your own sort of mythology and your own, narratives about yourself, and it's easy to get lost, and that's true for anybody. It's easy to get lost in the stories we tell ourselves, the stories other people tell about us. And I think this song is about the people who really know who you are, the true sort of essence of who you are and your story, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. Having people in your life, I think, is really, for me, it's kind of the magic ingredient. Ellie and I laugh because most of our closest friends are not musicians, and so they don't. There's just not as much of the sort of like angling and peacocking, and because you're just like, oh, this is my friend Matt, and he sells commercial flooring and ceiling, like live totally different lives professionally. He's also a big music fan, loves what I do, and so I wrote that song about my friends, about the people that make life make sense. I love, one of my favorite metaphors is you got to find your people that put the needle in the groove. Back to this idea that music is sort of this important ingredient to helping us navigate life. I love it when friends share music. What have you been listening to? What have you what's on your playlist. This song is Found Your People is just a celebration of friendship. That's on you, that's on me is about this mythology idea. The line of the chorus is that's on you, that's on me. We all make our own mythology. The story in that verse is that I'm from Memphis, and I lived for 35 years without going to Graceland. And I've met people here in Nashville who've lived here for 50 years who've never been to the Opry. These towns have these like incredible things, but they're sort of touristy, and you just forget to go to them. And yet then, I've been telling the story that I'm from Memphis and how much the music's meant to me over the years. And I was like, kind of embarrassing because I've never actually even been to Graceland. Like, the spot in Memphis, if you're a musician, to go and sort of pay tribute to the history of music in that town. And the reason I released those songs together, that's on you, that's on me, and Troubles, was I think they sort of are pretty different songs and kind of frame the emotional arc of the record. Troubles is pretty heavy and sort of intense and somber and introspective. That's on you, that's on me is very celebratory. It's fun. It's loud. It's a rock and roll song. It's really groovy. But both of those sort of bookends, they work together well because the band sort of does such a great job of sort of living into the song, letting the song play itself. I was watching this thing recently about Levon Helm from the band, and he said, if you really listen to the song and you're good enough, it'll play itself. And I think my band sort of lives into that reality. When we go in the studio, I have so much confidence that they're going to nail the songs just because they're so good, and they really absorb the song, the heart of the song, the lyrics of the song. And those two songs together, I think, sort of especially sonically, really fit well together, but also cover a lot of emotional arc, for the record. Yeah, we've got a lot of touring this year. We're doing, 7 weekends with Darius Rucker, mostly outdoor summer amphitheaters. And then we'll do a headline tour in the fall of our own shows in clubs and theaters. And then we also have a handful of festivals this summer, things like Bonnaroo and then Bourbon and Beyond. And it's one of the great sort of challenges in music is set list making. The festival set list is different than the opening set list is different than the headlining set list. For opening on these big summer outdoor shows, it's going to be sort of a lot of the big fun songs, because people are feeling good. It's summertime. It's a lot of new ears for us. So I look forward to playing songs like Find Your People, All the Money in the World, Dance with Everybody. But then also mixing in older stuff because we know that we'll have fans there too. Songs like Family and Dragons. And I definitely subscribe to the school of thought, which is, give the people what they want. Don't try to be too coy about hiding, like not playing the big songs. But then, headlining, obviously, it's a lot of fun because you want to play the songs people expect. You want to be careful to play new songs, but not too many new songs. But then also I love to pull out, some deep cuts from different records and sort of cover the whole 20-year run of music that we've been making, because one of the neat things about doing it as long as we have is people come to you at different points, and that point is sort of their main reference for your music. So for us, that some people came to us in the Good Light era, some people came to us in the Medicine era, the Dragons era, and so trying to play songs from each sort of season of our history, while also really leaning heavy in on the new stuff because we're really proud of it, and I think it's going to translate really well live. I just hope this album, like every album, makes people feel less alone. I mean, that's what music's done for me is, there's other people out there that feel this way, or, you go to a show and you look around and people are having a good time, or they're sort of in their deep feels. I think more than anything, I hope people see the band on this record. I mean, they're so good, and they've been with me for so long, and they play sort of a more prominent role on this album than any of the others. And I hope people walk away going, not just like, I love Drew's songs, or they go, man, I love that band. That band is one of my favorite bands. And the guys have earned that over the years, and I just really hope that we can showcase what they do and what they're great at, and this record does that a lot. And so that's one thing I think I'm pretty excited about people walking away from this tour with.